Hello guys and welcome back to yet another video. Recently I was sent a laptop that costs $279 US. It's got a full HD display, 8GB of RAM and a 128GB SSD. For that money, is it any good? Well, let's open up the package and find out. Using our trusty knife, we can start opening up the package. Protecting the box is a large plastic pouch. Inside the box itself, we have the charging brick and the laptop. Thankfully, it's really well protected and looks like it's survived the shipping. Next, I cut through the security seals, which allowed us to access the laptop itself. I must say that the packaging so far has been very high quality. It's also worth noting that I have not been paid for this video, however the laptop was sent over free of charge, so I'm going to be very honest with my feelings on this device. They've also managed to fit in a number pad without making the keyboard look too cramped. Here comes the fun part, taking off all of the peelies. There's just something so satisfying about doing this. My first impressions are alright. It's pretty solid, but it's also kind of heavy, and the whole thing is made of plastic. As far as budget laptops go, I'd say it looks fairly sleek. You've got two USB 3.0 Type A ports, micro SD, mini HDMI, and a headphone jack. No USB Type C, sadly. The screen hinge is also quite good on this device, very firm with barely any wobble. I'll be honest, the first time I saw the BMAX logo, it did remind me of a transformer. While it does have a quad-core CPU, sadly it's only an Intel N4100 Celeron chip. Disappointingly, it gets very hot very fast, and quite quickly it reached 96 degrees Celsius before throttling down close to its base clock of 1.1 GHz. The left side of the keyboard remains uncomfortably hot, and from what I can tell, the CPU is passively cooled without a fan and does a pretty poor job of dissipating the heat. Those are, however, only synthetic performance tests. How well can this laptop handle day-to-day tasks though? A lot of fun to use. HD YouTube playback and web browsing was a great experience on this device. The built-in speakers are pretty average though. Plenty of room for expansion. Playing Minecraft with Optifine installed yielded playable frame rates between 30 and 40 FPS. The area near the CPU was pretty hot throughout testing this though. Old school RuneScape, a far less demanding title, ran absolutely great. Although if it couldn't run this, I would be very surprised. Moving back to another benchmark, Unigine Heaven did struggle on this machine, hitting at best 10 frames per second at 1080p low settings. If we bump the settings up to high and have tessellation on, the CPU clock speed will regularly throttle well below 1.1 GHz. It seems to be trying very hard to keep the CPU below 80 degrees. Without a cooling fan and completely enclosed in plastic, I'd be guessing this is to stop the machine literally melting over time. The battery is rated at 38 watt-hours, and using it over a period of a few days, I got about 4 to 5 hours out of it every charge. And that's doing some light gaming and web browsing with the screen brightness turned all the way up. Even though the construction of the laptop is primarily plastic, there isn't much flex to the body as I apply considerable pressure. The screen doesn't warp much either. In this price range, to get a somewhat decent full HD IPS panel is quite impressive. A lot of budget laptops in this price range will still come with a mediocre 1366 by 768 TN panel. While the display here definitely isn't amazing, it's perfectly fine for content consumption and day-to-day use. The only upgradable component of this system is the SSD. Removing two Phillips head screws gives you access to the M.2 slot. The included 128GB SATA M2 drive is pretty solid, getting very good read and write speeds. The one really poor aspect of this laptop is the trackpad. Gestures and general mouse movement is pretty poor. While it definitely is a large trackpad, the poor palm rejection makes that kind of a bad thing. Okay, well, how's the keyboard? Honestly, it's fine. Quite clicky and each keystroke is firm. So would I recommend this laptop? Well, if you've got $279 and you absolutely have to buy a brand new laptop, then this is definitely serviceable. The battery life is good and the SSD definitely makes up for some of the shortcomings of the weak CPU. However, it does get very hot as soon as you start to do anything remotely demanding. This is really only good for basic tasks, but the somewhat decent display does make it a viable option for content consumption, as long as you don't use the mediocre built-in speakers. While it says it's 42% off, there's absolutely no way this thing retailed for $479. For that sort of money, you can definitely get a far better device. But if you are on a tight budget, for $279, the Bmax S15 is not a bad option. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing. I'll be back with a lot more retro videos very soon. I'll see you then.